I wanted to go over with you very quickly my expectations as to what your writing should look like this quarter, because academic writing may be very different from the writing that you've done either, you know, recently or in the past. So I just kind of wanted to do a refresher video to help remind you of the terms associated with writing. And they're going to be things that we're going to work on the rest of the quarter, but I wanted you up front to have a good, head start as to what these things are so that when I comment on your papers and I say, oh, you need to improve your development, you understand what that means. So some of them are covered in the textbook, but some of them are not. So I wanted to make sure that we got everything covered that I wanted you to know. So I'm not going to give, great gobs of detail about these items, but I thought I would just give a brief overview so that you felt more comfortable with those terms and we can work on how you can improve those in your writing. So the first thing that I kind of wanted to discuss very quickly was the difference between college writing and high school writing. Whether you were in high school last year or you were in high school 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 30 years ago, it really doesn't matter. But you do need to understand that college writing is elevated from high school. There are different expectations, and I just, again, wanted you to be aware of those. So in high school, and even, previous to high school, a lot of your papers may have been written on opinion, but in college, you need to move away from your opinion and base your writing on fact. To me, opinion is not necessarily bad, but I think students get caught up in thinking that their opinion has more weight than it really does. An expert on physics, for example, will have a more educated opinion on something, but more than likely that opinion of theirs is based on fact. So you're free to have an opinion. However, I really don't want your papers based on your opinion because you're not necessarily an expert or experienced enough on whatever you're talking about to have an opinion, if that makes sense. If you, for example, we're a graduate student working on your thesis, you're going to be spending enough time with the material to have a good educated opinion. So hopefully that makes sense. I really don't want we're not going to write opinion papers in this class. So really try to move beyond that habit and look more at the facts and what is in front of you as opposed to what you think about it. In high school, you may or may not have focused on the 5-paragraph essay. I think the 5-paragraph essay is great. I think that it creates a structure and a form that is very fundamental and is a very good way to write. However, in college writing, you don't have to stay within that form. But that said, your papers, every essay needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. What is different about college organization in that 5-paragraph essay is the 5-paragraph essay says, okay, your thesis statement has to be the last sentence of your introduction, which is not always true. But you do need to have topic sentences at the beginning of every body paragraph, which is what a 5-paragraph essay would teach you. So they are very similar, and I do want you to have a very well organized and laid out essay, but you don't have to have a cookie cutter essay at the same time. So if you've worked with a 5-paragraph essay a lot in the past, then that's fine. It's safe, it's comfortable. But if you want to do a little more free form in your organization, that's okay too. College is a little more not lenient, like again, it's a good or bad thing, but it's just there's more freedom in how you want to, develop your essays. Also, high school I think teaches a lot of really bad habits, and I am going to try to help you correct them, and we'll touch on what those are in a minute. But I really, really challenge you to try to get past those bad habits and really improve your writing because it's going to be hard and you're going to have to be really aware of what you're doing. But if you move beyond those bad habits, your writing will be so much stronger with, I think, relatively little work. Also, college writing is all about critical thinking and insight. You're going to be analyzing writing. You're going to be thinking deeper about it. Again, it's not your opinion. Opinion is not a product of analysis and critical thinking. So hopefully we'll be able to move beyond that as well. So here are things that I expect to see in your academic college essays this quarter. Again, some things are covered in the textbook, so these are the things I expect of you that are not. Oh, never mind. I did list them that way. So the things you see with the stars are items that are listed in the textbook, and so they go into very good detail about these things. So I do expect you to use MLA format in your essays. I expect you to always have an introduction in some form, whether it's one paragraph or two or three, I don't know, it depends on what you're doing. But I do expect an introduction. Within that introduction, and maybe if you want to elevate your writing skill, you need to have a thesis statement. It doesn't have to be in your introduction, it can be somewhere else, but I want to see a thesis statement in your essay. That's covered in the textbook. Body paragraphs are all of the paragraphs in between your introductory paragraph and your conclusion. So when I say your body paragraphs need transitions from one to the next, that's what I'm talking about. It's all the information in between. Topic sentences. I want to see topic sentences in your body paragraphs. They're kind of like a mini thesis statement for each paragraph. It shows your reader where you're going and what the point of that paragraph is. Again, it's going to be covered in the book. Transitions are probably one of the most underused elements of writing that makes the biggest difference. It can be as simple as one word, and when students don't transition, it makes your writing choppy and disjointed. So transitions are a very easy fix for your writing. They can be a little tricky in remembering to, okay, I need to transition effectively. You don't want to just, use transitions without thinking about what you're doing. But if you don't use transitions, your body paragraphs will start sounding like a list, and you don't want that. Transitions add flow. It also adds unity, which is listed down at the bottom, and cohesion. So transitions are one of those things that I mentioned that if you can improve your transitions in your writing overall will be significantly improved. Support are the details and evidence that you give within your body paragraphs to um, support your topic sentences and the points you're trying to make. Development is how you use explanations and support to, again, develop your body paragraphs. Body paragraphs should not be short, they should be adequately explained and supported, and that's development. Organization is either how you organize all of your support and developmental elements within your body paragraphs, or it's how you arrange your body paragraphs within the paper. So organization has two levels, within the paragraph or within your paper as a whole. Unity relates to your focus. If you stray from developing your thesis statement, then you have a unity issue. So once you establish a thesis statement in your introduction, you need to um, stay on that topic. So that's why it's so important that you have a thesis at the beginning, because without it, you can't focus the rest of your paper. With cohesion, that relates back to your transitions. Everything needs to connect and as you move from point A to point B, everything needs to flow well. So those two are kind of related. Also, you need to be a little bit more formal in academic writing. Don't talk, or excuse me, don't write the way you talk. Don't speak on paper. You need to write. You need to be more elevated and more appropriate in your tone. So here are some academic don'ts, things that I do not want to see in your paper. I don't want to see slang and cliches. That goes back to the formality issue. You need to find a way to rephrase things. Also, contractions. That's using can't instead of cannot. That's a laziness issue. What is your reader going to think of you if you can't spell out cannot? So don't use contractions. Don't use rhetorical questions. Again, that to me is lazy. It's lazy writing, especially your thesis statements. You need to learn to spell it out instead of asking a question. I don't want to see narration because that leads back to the use of opinion, and we want to try to get you out of that habit. So please don't narrate unless you're writing a narrative essay. That's the only essay that you should be narrating in any way. Related to that is the ubiquitous you. That's when you say, when you walk down the street and see something disturbing, you're addressing the audience, but not really. It's so general, and it's a very, very lazy way of writing, but it's also probably ingrained in your head to write that way. It's a very, very bad habit. It's extremely hard to break, but I do challenge you to try to break it. Also, needless quotation marks. If a word is not a title, don't put it in quotation marks. You don't need them. Rarely does a student need to use quotation marks around a word. So unless it's a title, highly doubt you need to use them. So again, that's a very brief overview of the things I expect to see or don't want to see. If you have any questions, let me know. But again, we're going to be working on these things throughout the quarter. So hopefully things will become more clear, but hopefully this also gives you a good foundation to start from.